Hola chicos, welcome to another Learn Electronics Repair video. This is a graphics card I bought as one of the batch of 13 back in November last year. I think I actually probably bought this one back end of September. It waited in the UK for a while till I was over there. It's a Gigabyte 980 Ti, GTX 980 Ti. And the guy I bought this from, it ended up costing me £55 to win in auction, £4.99 for postage, so it was actually £59.99 UK pounds, £60. The seller claims that this one, that the middle fan was changed. This was, he said, the middle fan was changed. And actually it has a different slightly label, and I don't know, it looks slightly different actually. The middle fan was changed, and then he thinks the resistor was knocked off while it was being changed, and then it doesn't work. Well, I can say pretty confidently that middle fan has actually been changed on this. But I'm a little bit concerned about this card, and that's because if you look at the bottom edge of it, it appears to be warped. Can you see that kind of like comes down this way here? Like the card is somehow warped. Can't quite see. Okay. Well, that's the first thing I noticed. It appears to be slightly warped. Screw missing here. A few more screws missing. So let's get the rest of the screws out and let's see what we've actually been sold. Strange, but this seems to be like very difficult to get apart. I mean, there's 4 screws here and only 3 were fitted. There's none of these were fitted. There's some more screws, but they have to be released from the other side, and then this back plate will come off. So I don't understand what's holding this in place, but it does not want to easily give this up. I mean, this end of the board is even like bending a little bit, yeah? It's like something in the middle of this. It's almost like glued into place. Okay, let me go a little bit further. I've got it off. It was basically like it was practically glued to the GPU. I mean, it was very difficult to lift off. Yeah, it's just sticky. That took a hell of a job to get this off of here. Okay, so let's take some. I took some screws like this originally. I can put this all back together. So did he change the fan? Well, possible. I mean, these fans are all kind of like held together, where they fasten together with this little connectors. So it's possible that fan's been changed. It does look different from the other ones, slightly different writing, so yeah, that's possible. So here we have it, the card. Still looks slightly warped to me. Let's get the backing plate off it and let's have a look. I mean, it's possible, in the difficulty I had getting this off here, if he's tried, he could have maybe actually knocked it. I had to use a spudger to get in, like a little crowbar, to get it off. So it's possible something got damaged. He could be quite honest about this. Let's take these off. Let's see how flat it sits on the bench once this is off. Okay, one more. Okay, right, let's have a look to see what the situation is with this one. Yeah, let's see what we've got here. A little bit more. There we go. Okay. Right, so that's off. Seems to be metal rather than plastic. So I can't. Yeah. So I can't see somebody's melted it or anything if they've had the heat in here. Or they've taken this off first. Okay. Well, at first sight, it looks fairly clean. It doesn't look like there's any flux on here, like anybody's been in this with a heat gun. Does this lift off easily? Possible this is never been taken off by the looks of it. It doesn't look like it has. It looks quite clean. So The first thing we'll do is let's get the microscope and I'll have a good look around this card and let me see if I can actually see anything broken off. Okay guys, I've noticed a couple of things here. So one of them is that there's some sort of damage to the PCB here. You can see it. It's like something chipped off it or something. I mean, this could have even happened. I was just trying to open it up because it was so hard to get this thing opened up. But we need to probably have a look to see if this circuit trace here is damaged. You know, that's one thing I think I need to have a look at. I can zoom down. You can have a look and see what we think of this. But let's get on to it. Okay. So it looks to me like there are two circuit traces and one of them is broken. Maybe. Is there two circuit traces? I don't know. It's kind of like the edge of this thing here. I'm just following it around now. You're just kind of like following the edge and see where it goes. So it seems like let's get some focus on it. Yeah. Well, there's certainly something there. That's for sure. That's guaranteed. There's something there that we need to have a look at to see what's happened. The other problem I noticed, the other problem I noticed is a bit further across here, here somewhere. Yeah, here. So somebody's obviously been in here and attempted to solder something, and whoever they are, they're not able to do it. Yeah, that's a joke. Of somebody trying to solder. So we need to clean that off as well and have a look to see what's gone on here. Yeah, I'll see if I can find a board view for this, and that might give me some idea. I mean, maybe this is where they say something was broken off. Maybe the guy's fairly honest about this. Okay, so we've got a couple of things there that we need to look at on this board. I think the best idea, guys, is to clean this mess up, and now let's have a look to see what we've actually got here. So we'll get a little bit of flux. There we go, a bit of flux onto the area. And hopefully this guy who sold me this is watching. I'll teach him how to solder. Yeah. Okay, so that's got that bit, and let's see what's here. That's got that bit. And I think that's about it. I'll take a bit of solder braid as well, just clean that little area up, and then we can have a look to see what's underneath here. Okay, so get solder braid. There we go. Okay, that's it, guys. That's not so difficult, is it? I don't really understand why you'd have such a mess. Bad tools and bad workmanship, basically, yes. Okay, let's get that flux off there. Let's see what we've actually got now. Okay, guys, I've cleaned that up. So let's see what we've got here. It looks to me like we have, and I'm just using the tool to get a bit more light in. The track which is coming along here, up here. I need some new tweezers, obviously. And then this looks like it goes to this via here. So that looks like that track should go along there. So we need to check to make sure that's actually got continuity and it's not being broke. I think it probably has. I think it's just got a bit of gunge over it. This via goes to the end of this. And this is obviously a capacitor C something. Yeah, you can see that. C57, I would say. So C58 is next to it. So this is C57. Goes to here. Then it looks like this then has a via. And this is a coil, LB6, yeah, and then that comes from this via. And this looks to me like this has been broken off. So I think what we have here is one missing coil, if it was fitted. This looks clean, but I suspect it probably was. And one missing capacitor. We need to just check out a couple of these traces to make sure they actually go where they should. So I think we'll get the... yeah, let's see if we find a schematic for this, or a board view would even be better if we can find a board view. But even with the schematic LB6 and C57, we can probably work out what's actually missing. It also looks like there might be some damage here, there, and there. So really, whoever's been at this has made a good mess of it. You know, they've tried hard here, haven't they? They've obviously tried hard here to do that. Okay, let's see if I can find the schematic, or if I can find a board view for this board. I asked on Badcap's forum about these missing components, and I didn't get an answer after a day. So then I put it on the Learn Electronics Repair Discord, and somebody came back to me on there and posted a little diagram, which is a segment of a schematic from a GTX 980 Ti reference card. So this is not actually the same manufacturer, but he said that this missing component here is basically the same on both, and I can see here quite clearly C57 is a 4.7 microfarad 16 volts, and then this LB just says bead 0603, so it's an inductor bead, and this is on the PEX supply. This is not a buck regulator or anything that's running at high frequency. So basically this bead is just filtering out noise, or any bits of noise, and I don't believe it's actually critical as the value. But anyway, I've got a 780 Ti. I've got a couple of them here, just scrap ones, donor boards. So we can have a look on there. I also have these in stock anyway. Out of interest, C58, which is present 47 microfarad, is a 4 volt. And these are 16s, but this rail PEX is like the 0.9 volt, so quite why they put 16 volts instead of, you know, anything lower they could have used here. I don't know. I guess it's just what was available. Okay, so let's have a look at our donor board. If I can't find what I want on there, I've got this these capacitors, and I'm sure I can find some bead and just stick one in here, and then let's see what happens. What I had in mind is this is a scrap 780 Ti, but it's, you know, it's a kind of similar thing in a way to ours. And on the back of it, sorry, on the front of it, I can actually see not the same but a similar kind of circuit here, maybe, or maybe very similar. So on this one we have this LB6 again, yeah, and C57, C58, and that looks to be, to me, the same as our circuit. In fact, it's practically identical, guys. I mean, look at these two, you know. So I'm going to take LB6 off here, and while I'm at it, I'm going to take C57 off as well, although I know what it is. I'm going to replace those two, and there was a track which is coming underneath this capacitor. I just want to make sure that track isn't actually broken. So we'll check that track first, and then we'll take the two parts from here and we'll put them onto here, and then I think we'll do the next stage, because we've only done a visual check on this. So we'll check resistances, and then we'll try and power it up and check voltages. Okay, so let's get the microscope and have a look at this possibly damaged track. So what I could see before, and I'll just look down the microscope, it's easier for me. The meter's on resistance mode with the bleeper. So there's a resistor over here, R78, and that goes to this track which is coming along here, and it goes to this wire. I can sort of see a bit of it scratched away there, yeah. And I'm wondering if this track is actually broken or stripped. So what I need to do first is try and figure out if I've actually got any continuity here. Yeah, I've got someone, I'm making the contact. So there's continuity to there. Yeah, it's okay. I've got continuity to the wire. I'll just get this so I can actually see the meter myself and make sure it wasn't actually reading some resistance. It was actually reading short. Let me just go again onto that wire. Here we are, find where I am. Yeah. So that definitely going to there. The other one that was a little bit suspect is the one above it. So I'm thinking if the other one's okay, this is probably okay. I think the easiest way with this is going to be just to scrape away a little bit of the track. here, if we just get into it a little bit there we go, got a little bit of it there, and we'll just get a little bit of it this side somewhere. Okay, and then do we have a connection from here? Do we have a connection from here? No, I'd say we don't. I'd say we have a problem with that one. What about the one above it? Is that also a little bit broken? So that's there. And this is this one. That one's okay. That one's okay. Let's have a look at this one again. Make sure I get a connection on it. This one doesn't look good to me. Okay, so we need to have a look at that. I need to find something a little bit sharper to scrape away at it. I hope you can see where I was then, by the way. I think it's possibly moved. So I'll show you again in case you couldn't see. So there's these two tracks coming here, yeah? The top one I'm actually connecting here. I'm connecting here, and I could actually get a connection on this one. Okay, but the bottom one, which comes past here, oh, I do have. Okay, I do have. That's fine. That's what I was trying to do, guys, to see. It just looked like maybe it was like broken there, but it isn't. Okay. The other thing I noticed when I first looked at this was this. I'll just get down to it without moving it too much. Yeah, this chunk missing here. And I thought this was a track, but this is not a track. This is just the edge of this large area of copper. You can see it there, just like a raised edge. That's what we can see there. So I don't think that's a problem either. So I'll change the two components off the donor board, and let's see what actually happens. Okay, so I've changed those parts over from the donor board. So let's have a quick look to see if we've got continuity through this coil. So there's a via here that goes, yeah. So that's soldered in nicely. Okay, so I think the thing we need to do now is actually measure some resistance on this board, see if we can spot any other problems with it. Okay, so let's just go around all the main rails. We have then coming in 12 volts, no short there. I actually want to ohms range, I can see a bit easier. So this is 12 volts coming in, looks like it goes to a fuse here, which is reading the same both sides, so we know the fuse is okay. Yeah, it's good. There's 3.3, 1, 2, 3, fourth one. No shorts there, 0.8 of a kilo ohm. Oops, my wire just caught on the camera there. Okay, V-core, 3 ohms, that was good. 3 ohms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 phases. So I'm guessing these two are probably going to be the RAM. Oh, that's reading 15, that's a bit lower than I thought. That's reading 15 as well. If that's the RAM phase, that's unusually low, I think. Samsung RAM, Samsung reads a bit low, but I don't know. Not sure about that. This one, 27K. These will be the 12 volts coming in, I would think. These will be not buck regulators, but filters. Let's have a look. There's a fuse here. The fuse is intact, another one here. So I'm going through the fuse and the coil basically. Fuse intact, and these will go to the 12 volts there. Well, the 12 volts here somewhere. Get a good connection on it. Yeah. check to ground for shorts, no shorts, no shorts. So the one thing I'd say about here, so there's another little regulator down here. That's reading 1.8K. One here, 0.46K. The one thing I'd say here with this is the RAM phase seems to be reading considerably lower than I would have expected. But I think the next thing to do here now is just to power this up. Let's power it up and let's see what voltage rails we have and let's see what it actually does. Okay, so let's go start off with VRAM, since that's the one with the rather slightly unusually low resistance to my mind on that one. So just switch that on. Let's boot it up and let's see what we actually get. Well, we got VRAM, that's good. What we got on VCore? It bleeped. Well, we have VCore, we have VRAM. It's not overly hot yet. Let me just see if I've actually got any image coming off this. It did give me one bleep, so you never know. Let's go to HDMI. No, I don't have a picture. I have a blue. Oh, I do have. Okay, so this one might just be what the guy said. Basically, that two components got broken off, which we've just replaced. And yeah, you never know, guys. That actually might be an honest seller on this one, and it might just be that that's what it was. So what I'll do is I'll put this one back together, and then let's load the drivers and let's see what it actually does. And no, of course it doesn't work. I mean, come on, Richard, do you think it's going to be that easy? Yeah, no, not yet, no. So this card gives a picture on the BIOS screen. I have it on the screen now, and I load into Windows and I get a picture until I try to load the drivers. Well, actually, no, I get a picture even after I've tried to load the drivers. The problem is when I load the drivers, it doesn't find the card. It says the card isn't there. And if I go into Specky or into Device Manager, the card isn't there. It's not there, but it's given a picture. I mean, you know. What's that little rant now? So there's something with graphics cards. I don't know what it is, but these ones I get off eBay, and these ones that subscribers send me to repair, I'll often fix a problem. Look, broken components, no power on the PEX. Yeah, fix it. I've now got all the power rails. So you'd think, come on, you'd think that is a reasonably good reason to expect this to work. Yeah, no, and it's not the first time. I had the broken resistor on the GTX 750 Ti out of this batch. Fixed it, gets a picture, something wrong with the RAM or repo, you know, there's lines on it, yeah. And others, you know, you fix some like broken resistor or something, and then or the voltage, yeah, VRM isn't running, you get the VRM running, and it comes on and it'll crash when you load the drivers. So is it just me? I don't know, but hey, come on, this is making some interesting videos on the YouTube channel, yeah? So rant over, let's see if we can actually fix this thing, or at least figure out why it isn't actually working. So here's our card that isn't there, but it gives a picture out of the DVI connectors on the back of it. I mean, I'm sure that's something to do with the fact that this motherboard has onboard video, because when I stuck it in my other board, the board that doesn't have onboard video, it doesn't detect this. And I don't actually understand the mechanism of how does it give a picture if it's not there, and I'm sure somebody's going to educate me on this channel and tell me how does it give a picture if it ain't there, yeah, if it doesn't exist. So we've checked all the voltages on this, but there's a couple of things I want to check that I didn't check previously. The first one is the ref clock. So you have a ref clock on the first couple of fingers. Which side is it? Yeah, on the back here, after the gap, pins 2 and 3. So this is the first after the gap, yeah, which isn't pin 1, just the first after the gap. And if you can look, I'll just tilt it a bit, you'll probably see where the 2 tracks come from here, yeah, going into here. And this is like, it's a PCI, it's a PCIe lane. It's what do you call it? LVDS, low voltage differential signal. So you've got 2 pins here, and if we put the meter on to diode mode, they should read the same. And they read open circuit. I'm not on diode mode. Phew. Just wipe the sweat from my brow and go to diode mode, because this won't work in resistance mode. So pins 2 and 3. And 2 is reading 748. And I can't say exactly what they should read, but I can tell you what they should do. They should both read the same. Yeah? And they shouldn't be shorted to each other. They see like a resistance between them, yeah. Okay, so they're not shorted to each other, but they do read. Let's go to this side. So this is almost the same but slightly different. Same but different. So in this one, it's numbers 3 and 4 after the slot, not 2 and 3. And this is the first transmit lane, like PCIe lane 0, and the transmit signal. And this is where the card returns the information back to the PC to say I'm here and this is what I am. This is how it detects the card. Yeah, so let's have a look. So pin 3, 526. It'll probably read different from the other side, from the ref clock. 526, they both read the same. And they're not connected, shorted to each other. So this comes to a couple of things now. The first thing that occurs to me is, does this card detect in Linux? If I run Linux or boot Linux, does it see the card? So it doesn't see it in Windows, does it see it in Linux? Yeah. If it doesn't see it in Linux either, it's got some serious problem, I think. The other thing that occurs to me, that it's possible somebody has corrupted the BIOS on this, or loaded the BIOS, overclocked it, and it's now not working, or it's just become corrupted or failed. So the other thing I'm interested in is, first of all, does it actually try to read the BIOS? So we get an oscilloscope on the chip select of the BIOS, and if it does read the BIOS, and we can see there's data coming from the BIOS, is that data actually any good, or is it, you know, effectively bad data? So it just doesn't find it, yeah? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do then is to boot into Linux and see if we can actually see this card. Okay guys, I've put the camera best I can so you can see the screen. So I've booted from the King's Overkill Linux discs, the one I actually did a tutorial on this channel, and I will link it from this one. And I have the onboard video enabled, so it doesn't actually run with onboard video. You have to switch your onboard video off to run the automatic tests on this. So it just boots to a prompt, but this is Linux, so this is just what we need. So the first thing we're going to do is see if the computer can actually see the graphics card. And the Linux command for doing this is ls for list, ls PCI. -V verbose. That will give you a lot of information about each thing. Basically, I think I'll put a V. You can't read it, can you? That's probably a bit clearer, so I'll put -M actually, so it's -V. Yeah. Okay, so ls PCI -V. And if we run this will actually now list the PCI devices. You can see we've got the Intel processor, which is the graphics, but we don't actually see our graphics card. So if we now try to run a memory test, it won't work. So to run a memory test, we just need to go into a folder with maths. So ls will list all the various folders. As you can see there, we have ones for each type of graphics card. So we're going to the GTX1070i. So it's CD to change directory, CD GTX1080i. Okay, and we're in there now. LS will actually list all the programs in there, and we have on here on this side, you can probably see mods, mats, yeah, so it's there. So from here, if we try to run mats memory test, because the graphics card's not there, it won't actually work. So mats minus E 12, which, well, let's say 5. Let's test 5 megabytes. So minus E is the argument, and after that is the size in megabytes. Pipe, which is the two vertical lines up here on my keyboard somewhere. Pipe less. So this will send the information to a command called less that allows you to view it screen by screen. So if we run that, you'll see it didn't actually run a memory test. So we're back in the folder, and again we can list the PCI devices, and you can see that that's a list of all devices. Yeah, if we go to LSPCI -V, the verbose, that'll just give us the information on what we want there. Yeah, so it's just in the processor basically, it's not seeing this graphics card. So what we can try now, we can try to force it to start to restart the card, and we can do this with mods, which is another application on here, and this is how you do it. So it's mods, GPU test, and then it's .js, probably JavaScript or something, JS, I don't really know, and then it's dash skip RM state init minus CFG. Sorry, not minus CFG, minus MFG. MFG. So the skip RM state init is actually telling it to skip the memory test when the board powers up. So let's see if it, or at least I believe that's what it's doing. That's what I understand it's doing. So we can now run this command, and let's see if this will actually initialize our graphics card. And yes, it did. Give it a few seconds, and it's come up with a fail. Now, the reason I know it actually initialized the graphics card is because up here, under device ID, we have GM200. And if you Google that, you will find that is a GTX 980 Ti. So it now knows it's there. So what we can now do is we can tell Mats to test it. Now we need to do this in a slightly different way. So Mats, and then we have a different parameter, minus N for Norman, yeah, minus N1. That tells it its device in PCI device index 1. I believe index 0 is the CPU onboard graphics. So minus N1, minus E 5 meg, yeah, and we'll send this to the less command so we can actually read it. Let's just go less, and it's now running the memory test. So it knows the card's there now. It's running the memory test. Give it a few seconds. Okay, and it's run it, and we can just press enter, and we can now see. So at the top it's saying testing GM200 with 5 meg of data, and it's basically giving us a number of errors on each RAM channel. Yeah, so 31512, and these are write errors. So there's basically a number of, there seems to be no read errors but a number of write errors, and it seems to be on all the channels, yeah, A, B, C, D, E and F, on both the high bits and the low bits. So this definitely has a problem somewhere to do with the memory controller possibly, or the RAM, or maybe even to do with the supply voltage to both, which I'm going to check in a minute. Out of interest, I'm just going to try this again and see if I get the same result. So if you remember 31512, 31813 at the top two, yeah? So let's actually run it again. Okay, no, and you can see that the number of errors is changed, so it's not the same every time. So now we need to determine what that actually means in terms of our graphics card. Just power this up and let's see what voltage is on this card. Okay, one moment, power. There we go. So this is RAM, I'm guessing. 1.35. Yeah. What's this one? That's a 5-volt regulator in actual fact. And this is PEX. Oh, I don't know if it's PEX, it's 1 volt. A bit higher than I thought. And I'm guessing this is the V-core, 0.973. I'm not sure if these voltages are quite right here. They seem a bit wrong to me. I'm just wondering if somebody's tried to overclock this card and altered the settings in the BIOS for various voltages, and maybe that's why it's now acting up. So it appears to be that there's, you know, problems on all of the RAM banks, but the problems are not the static, they're not the same. Yeah, they change each time you start it up. So let's have a look to see which BIOS is on this. I don't know if it is a 3.3 or a 1.8 volt BIOS. If it's 3.3, I've got a programmer. If it's 1.8 volt, I haven't got a programmer. So let's just get the thing unplugged. So let's have a quick look. I can see what look like they might be BIOS chips. Maybe this one. Let's get the microscope and let's have a look. Okay, so this is the EEPROM. You can see it here, 25Q21BT. If we just go over to the data sheet, we can see GD25Q21B. I'm sure this is the right one, and just a quick look at it tells me it's a 3.3 volts. But actually we could check that very easily anyway. I mean, we can see the chip here in pin 8 is the power, so we could just go and measure the power on pin 8. If it's 3.3, then that's what it is. So this is a 3.3, so I can program it with my programmer. I'm just waiting for a 1.8 volt programmer. So what I need to do now is go and find a BIOS file for this graphics card, just factory one, a standard one, and let's see what it does then. Okay, so I've had a look on the internet, and I do know about this site anyway. So a site called Tech Power Up is the place to find graphics card BIOSes basically, and it came up here anyway. It's pretty much the first one, so we can go on here, and it's actually saying this is an unverified file, upload not verified by us, blah. So I've downloaded that one. I also noticed there's another one, overclock.net. There's one here as well. Someone's requesting a BIOS. Yeah. I don't know if there's one here. Oh, that's actually referring me back to the. It said I can use any of the 980 Ti 6GB BIOSes. Yeah. Any of these G1 BIOSes will work on that card. So let's have a look here. So G1 BIOSes. I guess that's all of these. So we're saying any of these will work as well. Yes, G1, any of these. So we can also grab one of these as well, and then we can have a look to see if it works on ours. So yeah, is this the latest one? 068. 67, yeah, looks like this is the most recent one. I'm just guessing. Okay, let's have that one as well. So we've got a couple of BIOS files here which we can try with our card. Okay, so let's now get the EEPROM chip off this card, and let's put it onto the program, and let's see what we can do with it. I've put the EEPROM onto the programmer, so I have to solder it to this little adapter and then fit it into the programmer. But my programmer doesn't support this EEPROM. It's not on the list of supported devices. So once again, I had to ask on Badcaps for them, and I got an answer fairly shortly actually. So if we just go over, I can show you. Again, this is me asking on badcaps.net forum. It's a great place to ask for advice on stuff you're not sure of. It's free, so do join here if you're not a member. Tell them Dickie96 sent you. Yeah, that's my username on there. And basically, anyway, this is the chip that I have, 25Q21BT, and it's not on the supported list. And this guy came back to me and told me to use a different one, which is an equivalent 25X20CL. So that's what I'm going to do. So we can try and program our chip using this other option which was recommended on Badcap. So this is actual chip, W25X20CL. It gives me a choice of a few packages. Small outline IC 8-pin is mine. So we can select that one. And then we can tell this to read the chip. So we choose read and OK. And you see straight away I'm getting an error. It's saying ID error, and it's given me an ID here, 0xC84012. And that ID is actually the correct ID for this chip, the 25Q21. It's not the correct ID for this chip. So what we need to do is we need to remove the check ID and then tell it to read the chip again. So there we go, and now it's reading it, or at least it says it's reading it. So it's done that, read successful. And we can see we have some contents from the chip. Now we have a look down here, just flicking through it. You'll see some stuff that's actually written. Look, here we go. The NVIDIA Corporation GM200 board. That is reading the chip. This is like the name for this. Whether that's their code name, GM200 is the GTX 980 Ti. You can go and Google that, it'll tell you that. Yeah. So this definitely read it for us. So what we want to be doing now with this is first of all saving it. So we'll save this file. I have it in into the right folder where I've put it. So I think I made a folder called GTX 980 Ti. Let's have a look. If it didn't, I just called it GTX 980 BIOS. Okay. So they're in here. So we'll save this and we'll call it original. The reason you can't see them all at the moment, by the way, is because I've just sent it to bin file. I think the ones are a different format. Yeah, they're ROM files, but it's the same thing. So we'll stick that in there. So we've now saved the file. Now let's have a look to see, out of interest, how that compares to the ones which I downloaded. I'm just using Total Commander then to compare the two binary files. So if we go files compare by content, this is the bin file, yeah, and this one on this side, originally we can choose the gigabyte file, the one which apparently is a verified file and it should work. So we choose the two and we compare, and we find that there's some differences between these two files. I mean, this is saying there's 192 differences, which I think it actually highlights them in red. So there are quite a lot of differences between the two files. If we just come out of there, so we just close this and we go back into the comparison. So I'm not quite sure how to clean it, how to clear it. So we have original bin. We can now actually compare this with this one, 17978 bin. This is the one that somebody uploaded onto the website, and it's not verified. If we put these two together and we compare these, we now find it practically identical, that there's only one difference, or so it says, although from what I can see there's more than one difference, there's quite a few just at the end here, yeah. So what I'm going to try and doing, because I don't know where the problem is with this graphics card, is I'm going to actually try the more generic file, this one, and I'm going to write that with the EEPROM program into our EEPROM, and I'm going to try it. The fact this is a ROM file and these are bin files doesn't matter. In fact, I renamed that one from ROM to bin myself. So it doesn't matter which they are. The program is quite happy to work with both. So we can now go to our EEPROM program. We can actually try to write this file to the EEPROM. So we have Mini Pro and we have the chip. So we now want to load the file which we actually want to program into it. So we're going to put this one in. Okay. That's picked up the file. And there are apparently quite a lot of differences. Again, we can read these first parts in here. Yeah, it says something about it. So let's just try this. I mean, GM200 again. We can always put the other one in. But let's just try this and let's see whether it actually makes any difference. So I'm going to take the check ID off because obviously I've chosen a different chip that's supposedly compatible. I'm going to hit program and I'm going to just tell it to program it. So let's see if it actually does. Yeah, so it's erasing it. It seems happy to program it with these settings, verify the code memory, and it's done. Okay, so that's now programmed, so we can actually put this back onto our board, solder it back on, and let's see if it now actually does anything different than it did before. Okay, so I tried it with that BIOS, and it actually still wouldn't even detect. I was going into Linux and it wouldn't even detect. That was with like the kind of generic one. So what I've done is now I've actually reprogrammed the BIOS chip again with the one that I downloaded that said it was like unverified, yeah, on Tech Power Up. And you can see now that when I run in Linux the LSPCI command, and it's listing the devices, we now have the graphics card, yeah, NVIDIA Corporation GM200 GeForce GT9080X. So it's seeing that now on Linux without me having to force it with mods to start up without the RAM test. So let's now see if it actually detects this in Windows, and can we or can we not actually install the drivers. Well, this looks a bit more promising, guys, because it now actually sees an NVIDIA Microsoft Basic Display Adapter. So it sees it, at least it sees it there now, it didn't see it before. I'm going to see if I can actually load the GTX 980 Ti drivers and if it actually will work. So I'll get those loaded and let's have a look. So this time it actually detects it now, it runs through the compatibility. It actually does find the thing, yeah, the graphics card. So I'm now going to install the drivers. I'll just do the normal Express, whatever. But there's no drivers on this anyway. Never been installed before. It's a fresh Windows 10. So I'm just going to let this install now, and then let's see if this actually is going to be fixed. Well, it's looking promising. I mean, it went black and changed resolution twice. I mean, normally at that point on loading the drivers is when they seem to fail to me, so they just go black and never come back. But now it's like switched resolution twice, so I'm guessing it's in 1920 now. It's continuing to load. Also, I've noticed the graphics card now actually has control of the fans, so it's decided itself to switch two of the fans off, just the middle one running. So again, let us finish, and then let's see if we actually have a good working card here now. Okay, and we're running Fairmark at 108, 110 frames per second at 1920. So this is working. I'm going to open it back up and just put some fresh MX4 heatsink compound on it, because it's been opened and closed a few times, so you probably just want some fresh putting on there. So yeah, that looks like it's good, but I mean the temperatures are running kind of okay. It's certainly not overheating at the moment, but as I will put, I think this is going to end up in my i7 5820K rig, because it's actually faster, I believe, than my GTX 1060, which is the fastest I have at the moment. So yeah, that's looking nice. I think you'll agree that was quite an interesting repair. May as well just let it finish now. It's almost on. The temperature's 72. All the fans are running quite happily. Yeah, come on. Okay, and that worked. I have 107 frames a second, which I think is pretty good for one of these. Okay, so that's the second out of this batch of 13 spares or repaired graphics cards from eBay that's actually working. I have 3 waiting for parts. I have one that a monkey had been at it with a heat gun and trashed the GPU. That was the 1070, so that's a donor board. And I have 5 still stuck in the UK that I haven't had a chance to look at yet. But yeah, so far I think that's not bad. I mean, the 2 I've repaired have gone a long way to paying the sort of about £300 I paid for the whole lot of 13. My thoughts on that one, and I've just quick discussion and then it's time to go home, but I think it's likely that this one, somebody decided to flash the BIOS and corrupted it, or flashed it with contents that it was not able to run with, yeah, and then because they couldn't get it to detect on Windows anymore, they couldn't do anything with it. Then it possibly went through eBay into either repair shop, but I doubt it's a repair shop because that was not that difficult to fix. especially when you're doing them all day, every day. I'm still learning to some extent. But either that or it's been onto eBay on spares or repair through a couple of people who've then ended up breaking 2 components off the board, and then it's come to me. That's what I think is a likely chain of events on this one. It'd be interesting to hear you guys commenting in the comments below. Yeah, let me know what you think. Anyway, nice repair. That one's going to go in one of my rigs, as I say, because it's actually now the best graphics card I actually own, and I'm quite happy, to be honest. I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you learned some stuff on there. Yeah, we kind of went the long way round to the BIOS in the end, but I think it was fun, and I've taught you how to do a RAM test on boards that won't detect on Linux. If it still won't detect when you force it, like I did, to detect by ignoring memory errors, the chances are your problem isn't RAM. But it could be that your problem is a corrupted BIOS, because when I put that first BIOS in, which was like a kind of like a generic one for 980 Ti's, it wouldn't detect. And then when I put in the unverified one, both from Tech Power Up by the way, it then worked. And in the unverified one, we actually read the contents on the screen. I didn't show you, but it actually had in the BIOS file the name of the model, the actual one this is, yeah. So there you go. I enjoyed making that. I'm sure you enjoyed watching it. See you all very soon on another video. Adios, amigos.